views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody, it's so great to be connecting with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning us in, turning us on. Get into it. Winning at the game of life. You know, Lynn Brown is joining me here today, joining her here today. We're being joined here today. And so part of this is to chat about something phenomenal. You know, many of you know Lynn for the just incredible work that she's done, especially with helping us understand how absolutely amazing and intuitive we are, and how to take that idea of winning at the game of life and applying that with exquisite intuition so that we can understand how to take our regular lives, as she says, and infuse them with the magic of soul. You know, today, all of us are going to get to be part of a new conversation, a new paradigm, a new way to think and talk about money. And what I love about what Lynn does, whether you're working with her one-on-one, whether you've been to her Abundance Through Energy workshop, whether you've been to her website, or any of her readings, whether they're corporate readings, and believe me, if you think that your business could not use a reading, let me tell you, it can. It doesn't really matter, because today it really culminates and points to something very important, and that's a new conversation. A new narrative around money. That's what I like to talk about. What are the new narratives? Many of you heard us talk about the new narrative in media, you know, the new narrative in radio and what that's going to look like. Well, Lynn has come into the forefront today to talk about money as consciousness. Lynn, it's great to have you here.
It is great to be here.
So let's have you talk a little bit about I think people can't even say this, money as consciousness. Yet, you know, we can go back to the early stunning studies of Carl Jung and the way he talks about the collective subconscious and consciousness in general. But you've discovered something different, haven't you?
Yes, definitely. It's not just the collective consciousness of us as beings and as a group of people cohabitating the planet. It extends way more than that. It extends to the consciousness of really everything that's on the planet right now, participating in one goal, and that's to raise everybody's consciousness. Everything out there has a consciousness, and, you know, whether you can even fathom that at this point, or whether you kind of feel like you've began to understand that, or if you're able to tap into it like I've been experiencing, all of us are going to be there. That's where we're headed. So it's great to start to talk about this and really around the aspects of money and abundance, because there's so much fear around those words on the planet, and the more that we can release the fear and the misunderstandings and the misprogrammings that we have experienced throughout our life, the higher that our consciousness automatically raises.
Yeah, one of the things you talk about is shape-shifting our energy. I'd love for you to talk about that.
Yeah, and everything, because again, everything on the planet has a consciousness and a role in the ascension of Mother Earth and all things on the surface, right? And shape-shifting energy really is another way to say we're accustomed to or used to the idea of embodying ways of being from other people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Books we read, other people, famous people. Who do we want to be like? Well, also in the spiritual realm, ascended masters. We can learn to embody ways of being from the ascended masters and the heavenly realm. And what I'm saying today is, you can do that also with the vibration, and as I like to call it, consciousness of anything. Anything. And understanding this allows us to learn powerful traits and ways of being from each of these expressions of consciousness. And then when we begin to meld with those energies and collaborate with those energies as one, here we begin to shapeshift the energy. Here we begin to tap into a level of creation that is pretty mind-blowing, I think, for most of the people on the planet right now, to even fathom that. But it's real. And that's what I want to bring forward today.
Well, yeah, you're also talking about this idea of vibration and consciousness, and how money or the material elements have a certain level of vibration. I mean, clearly, if we look at, even if you didn't pick up a history book or studied any of the ancient cultures, right? But just turned on your television or watched any blockbuster movie, it's one thing that gets really clear when there are references to, people that walked the earth thousands of years ago. And that is the abundance that you see, at least for a select few, of gold and silver and things that are shiny, right? Mm-hmm. Gemstones, just overly abundant with that. And, the question really becomes, what does that mean? What do each of those vibrations bring to the table for us in contemporary times?
Yeah, and that's what I want to start to explore with people again. The golden ages weren't called the golden ages by mistake. Mm-hmm. They were living at a certain level of consciousness, which allowed them to collaborate with these high-level conscious elements that the planet, that the heavenly realm has put here to help us to express our abundance, to be in the flow of abundance. When you take a look at some of the aspects and the traits of gold, or some of the aspects and traits of a diamond, it's really unbelievable. You can learn a lot from them, and if you can begin to match their energy, you're just lifting yourself into that level of consciousness.
Yeah. Well, I know that you referenced two things that are happening in the financial world today. And, there are things that many people may or may not be aware of. But you've been out there talking about them, especially here recently. What are those two major things? What's the first thing?
Well, I would like to talk about the consciousness of, like, what does that even mean to what's happening on the planet, right? The consciousness of, like, what is the concept of consciousness? I think that I need to introduce people to what that is, and then how does it connect with money, right? How does it unfold to money? And the way I see the consciousness is, and the way I experience it, it's like everything has a central mind, its own personality and distinguishable set of traits, very, very much like we as humans do. And our central mind, right? Our central mind helps the different aspects, the different physical aspects of ourselves collaborate with each other to achieve a goal, right? Such as drinking to hydrate our body. Like, our central mind says, let's get some water in us. So our hand does one thing, our mouth does another thing, but it's all a collective consciousness of our mind, right? Just like meditation, if we want to get clarity from meditation, certain aspects of our body do one thing, but we all collaborate together. And in order to understand the flow of life better, or the vast collective consciousness that we're a part of, I have personally taken the time directed by my ascended master friend, Saint Germain, who, if you've heard me on the show before, I always talk about him because he's such a great teacher. He's directed me to and showed me how to literally merge my consciousness with many things on the planet. And today I'm going to just stick with a brief overview of some of the common earth elements, like water, air, fire, earth, which then leads to what I'm calling, and I'm naming, the elements of prosperity, which include things like money, gold, silver, platinum, rubies, and diamonds. And the list goes on, but, this is we're covering so much today. I'm just kind of laying the introduction to this concept.
Yeah, I know we've got a lot to cover. So why don't we do this? Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take that journey with Lynn and go down the pathway of what is the new narrative now on money. What is money really calling forth for us to understand that perhaps we did have a sense of many, many, many years ago, but have kind of lost sight of? Or maybe this is something new. Maybe this is something that is different. Whatever it is, Lynn's got a very special message today for us. Let's take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Tim Darter.
And I'm Steve Kramer.
Join us on Spirit Fire Radio. Discover how to add the mechanics of meditation to your day.
And watch yourself connect in a whole new way. Find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio.
Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. for your weekly guide to practical mindfulness. And to learn more, visit www.spiritfireradio.com.
Song of the Heart, Walking the Path of Light, from author and healer Francine Vale, is available now. Through Francine's life story, we learn how imperative it is to love one another. Once this simple truth is learned, peace on earth will prevail. Song of the Heart is a life lived and a story told for this purpose. To learn more about Francine and her amazing gifts, or to order your copy of the book today, visit angelsandlightbeings.com.
Have you ever tried to make lifestyle changes but had difficulty following through? Imagine what it would be like to get up each morning with energy, clarity, and motivation to tackle the day. If you want to get past limiting barriers that are preventing you from living your best life, join holistic health and wellness coach T. Carrie Mitchell each month on the Dr. Pat Show. Or visit lifestyle120.com today and start to receive the personal attention you deserve.
Holistic Medical Center is where you find it all. A healthy space with doctors who care, see, and listen to the whole you. Hi, this is Dr. Darvish. If you have not found an answer to your chronic symptoms, you will find answers here at Holistic Medical Center. Our doctors find the root cause of your symptoms and guide your body towards healing naturally. We transform lives from within. Visit drdarvish.com or call 425-451-0404.
A word of caution: if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
Sky Siegel co-hosts one of today's most popular psychic shows, Angels and Answers, with Artie Hoffman, as she communicates healing messages from the spirit world. These messages can be astounding, enlightening, and life-changing. Born with the God-given talent of inner guidance and the amazing ability to heal, Sky has healed thousands of people. Schedule a reading with Sky now. Call 908-500-1474 and visit skyofangels.com.
Tune in to Sheer Alchemy with Leslie Fontaine on TransformationTalkRadio.com and get ready to stir up your passions, identify your blocks, and shift into an entirely new existence. Leslie Fontaine is a transformation catalyst and clairvoyant who uses her intuitive and energetic gifts to catapult listeners into living the life they were born to live. Whether it's shifting from scarcity to abundance, from emotional pain into joy, or from illness into health, Leslie will help you step into the true essence and power of all that you are with the help of the Ascended Masters and Archangels. You will not be the same. Visit TransformationTalkRadio.com for show dates and times and LeslieFontaine.com to say yes to explosive abundance.
Are you ready for a radical shift in your way of being? Are you seeking a more deeply connected and fulfilling life? Awakened Living Radio is a show dedicated to helping you embrace a life filled with profound peace, connection, and happiness. TJ Woodward is passionate about helping you find your clarity, balance, and purpose. Join co-host TJ Woodward and Dr. Pat Basili on the first Monday of every month at 11 a.m. Pacific Time for Awakened Living Radio on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Access Consciousness is coming back to Seattle this April for 3 amazing events. Mark your calendars. April 20th through the 22nd is the Access Consciousness Body Classes, created by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here, facilitated by Dr. Glenna Rice. Explore verbal processes and hands-on bodywork that will unlock the tension, resistance, and dis-ease of the body by shifting energy dynamically. April 23rd through the 25th is the Advanced Access Body Class with Gary Douglas. What if you could undo a whole lot of limitations that you have locked into your body and create an alteration of the way your body functions? Then, on April 26th at 7 p.m., join Gary Douglas for the Abuse Hold class. This is the first time ever that this dynamic process is being presented in a class format. Find out more about these Access Consciousness April events in Seattle by visiting transformation.events. That's transformation.events.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Pat. Many of you have heard me talk about the Lyme disease epidemic going on right now in the world. I want to tell you about my friends at Results RNA. They have now created an entire Lyme support system for immune system support, detoxification, rejuvenation, and neurological healing. Please visit resultsrna.com to learn more, and for first-time orders, you'll receive a special 10% discount. All you have to do is type in Dr. Pat at checkout.
Take me far. I'm living my life like it's golden. 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 Golden. Living my life like it's golden.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It's great to have you. Hey, sorry for that little elongated break, but there's a very good reason we did that, because there's so much for Lynn to be talking about with us today. As we're introducing money as consciousness on today's show, you know, we want to make sure that we can allocate sufficient time as we go through this, so that, you know, many of you listening to the show will have time to think about it and process it without us having to cut in and out of breaks. So I'm glad we've got the break thing handled. You know, Lynn, before we're talking about this idea of these elements, gold, silver, copper, and you are taking us on a journey about what that means in today's time, or at least what you're now understanding all of that to mean, having to do with energy and consciousness.
Yeah, you know, I have had the awesome opportunity. This has been so fun for me to explore this. You know, I've come to know each of the elements that we're talking about. I've come to know their personalities, their goals, their pains, as well as what they want us to know about them, right? They're not only introducing themselves to me very intimately, but they're saying, hey, people need to know this about us. These are misperceptions. So here are just a few examples from my experiences. First of all, copper. I just want to say copper because, you know, copper, as I was exploring several of the other ones, copper just kept on jumping on stage. Copper is quite the personality. It's very playful. I feel like if copper was a person, it would want to be a movie star. It kept wanting to show me how flexible it is. It would bend its leg backwards in half as if like showing off. It also transformed itself into a spiral twist. It likes attention. It was showing itself at a party, like swinging on a light shade. You know, copper just makes me laugh. So you know.
So copper, like the piece of copper, Jessica, that the piece of copper that I've got in my hand right here is a piece of copper that is, it looks like a little art piece, but it's copper and it's all kind of twisted and turned and kind of like dark spaces and light spaces. And then if you flip it upside down, right? I mean, if you flip that thing upside down, then what do you have? Well, what you have is a completely different view.
Yeah, I mean, copper is fun. That's, every time I try to work with another element, copper is just kind of butting its head in and very gig. I mean, copper makes me laugh. Another one, and it's kind of a different feel, is water. Water is vast in all its forms. Its consciousness is globally, it's universal, right? And it's really working hard right now to cleanse the earth and all things that are impure for both us and the planet, right? So water's helping, assisting the planet in the Earth's actual ascension as well as ours. However, it showed me that it is struggling right now because of the toxins that are put into the water, which thickens the water. It thickens the energy of the water, right? And it slows down the purifying process, which is essentially its role here on the planet. And the water is hopeful, right? It's not discouraged, yet it's working hard as we're making it hard for it to do its job, right? It's kind of like what I say sometimes when people are parked in neutral but running at high RPMs. That's what water's doing right now for us. So it's just a couple examples of the experiences I have when I sit down and really engage in the consciousness of these elements.
Well, what you're talking about is talking about something that has really come to the forefront. And we get to question, is this real? Is it something that, is about to happen? Is it something that is about to come? And so, what is it that money is calling for all of us to do? What are we expected to tap into?
Yeah, I mean, there's really two reasons. There's two reasons that we would want to do this. There's hundreds of reasons, right? But there's two that I really want to talk about today because this is what money is saying. In order to really grasp this, first and foremost is the raising of consciousness. And we talk about ascension, we talk about consciousness, and to me, it's kind of the same thing to me. And as we do things physically, mentally, spiritually that raise our consciousness, our perspective or our vantage point on which we perceive things and how we see things changes, right? And as our perspectives change, we actually change. We change the makeup of who we are. And it's a continuous upward spiral from there. And I like to use the example of a hot air balloon to demonstrate like our rising consciousness. So imagine, everybody listening, you can imagine being, I don't know, in a city, let's call it New York City, on one of the busiest days of the year. And you're in a hot air balloon, right? Everybody gets their own hot air balloon, whatever color you want to make it. And we're in the heart and the thick of the hustle, the bustle, the stress, the noise. And we can see from that street perspective a certain amount of things, right? But if you can imagine allowing the balloon to rise a few hundred feet to the top of some of the buildings in New York City, our perspective begins to widen. We begin to see things. Not only are we seeing the same things differently, right? We look down on the street and we're seeing the same things differently. We get to look out across the horizon and see different things. And that makes us feel different because now it's not so noisy. Now our emotions aren't so ingrained, aren't so fired up about the things that are happening around us. We begin to have more ease. We begin to experience more peace. And then let's go ahead and raise that balloon another 500 to 1,000 feet, imagine. And now we're starting to see the whole landscape of New York, the beautiful aspects, the greenery. We get to hear the birds chirp and they fly by us and they're starting to play with us and collaborate. So it's really a change in perception. It's really a change that activates a change in ourselves. this is the change in consciousness. Now, why does this have to do with the money? Because as we raise our consciousness and our perspective, we're going to begin to see things differently, including money. We're going to be able to see things differently, including the gold, the silver, and we're going to be able to interact with those things on a very collaborative level, which is the next point of, why is money asking me to do this? Why is money asking us to begin to see it from a different perspective? Point 2 is a whole new level of collaborating and co-creating with the elements of the planet. It is my experience that when you are truly able to feel something as something feels, when you sing as they sing, when you walk where they've walked, when you breathe how they've breathed, and when you understand their relationship to all things, then that thing becomes demystified, right? It becomes non-scary. It becomes, you don't have the judgments or the resistance or the rejection to those things, person, place, or thing that you might have been raised to have or inherited from your family or from society, right? And as something becomes demystified, our walls come down, our judgment disappears, and a connection is formed. And before we know it, we're co-creating or collaborating. Oh, not to mention a huge byproduct of this whole process is that we have literally changed. We have healed many of those aspects within ourselves that were not being and experiencing pure love, right? It's like hearing about a family at the end of the street, but you've never met them, but all of your family and all the neighborhood just talks bad about them, or this is the way they are, stay away from them. But then one day you get to actually sit down and experience them for yourself and figure out how many things you have in common and that you really enjoy each other and that you begin to collaborate. It's transformation that happens there. It's not just an ideal change, it's a transformation in your whole way of being that changes.
Yeah. There's something that I heard someone say the other day. I think it's Richard Bach wrote it in his latest book. And it was one of the most brilliant things I had heard in a long time. And I'm sure I've heard this before. But, here's the question I think I want to ask you about this. Is what he said is forgiveness is letting go of the hope for a better past. And when I read that, and I had to say it out loud, forgiveness is giving up the hope for a better past. It didn't click for a minute for me. And then I thought about this in terms of what you're talking about and about healing and about the elements, because it is really an interesting phenomenon that we have right now, which is this level of expansiveness, which you're talking about here, and talking about the idea that prosperity elements have consciousness, and yet we're holding on to a past of scarcity. So I'm really, really eager to hear you talk about money and the prosperity elements and the consciousness that they now have.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's that they now have it. I think that we are merging into that area where we can understand it, right? And then start to heal ourselves in the perceptions that we had carried in the past. That's my take on it. I only know what I know and experience, but that's my take on it. They've been here to serve us in so many ways. We've just been playing this other weird game. And they really want us to start playing with them. So I'm really excited not just to spread this amazing information, but to help people experience it, right? That's the whole point, is to help people experience and embody this consciousness. Again, it goes back to so many things I'd say. It's the difference between reading about swimming and jumping in the pool. I'm asking you to experience this, to embody this consciousness. With money and the prosperity elements, I've taken the time to understand how they really feel, how it feels to be these elements, what their roles are, again, with the earth as well as in the universe. And this is so powerful to understand, and here's why. Because I'm going to take it another level of when we repel or reject money, gold, rubies, diamonds, or any expression of abundance. Let me say that again, any expression of abundance. We are really refusing the ability to collaborate with the energies that we're put here on the planet to assist us in our ascension and living out our highest aspirations and our highest creative expressions of ourselves. So let's take it a step further. It is not actually those things that we're rejecting, right? It's not actually gold that we're rejecting. It's not actually money that we're rejecting. It is not actually the traits that they embody and aspects of themselves that we're rejecting. It's those very aspects within ourselves that we are rejecting and thus not collaborating with.
Mm-hmm.
And then just hit that home one more time from a different angle. When we begin to see and understand their consciousness, and when we start to collaborate with their divine aspects, we are really beginning to collaborate with these divine aspects of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That goes right back to where I was saying in the last show I did, where abundance really is a non-ending, ever-expansive flow that comes from within us.
Yeah.
From here, instant creation of all things can begin to happen. This is where we as a planet are heading as a collective consciousness. And, we're heading to a collective style of collaboration and co-creation with not only each other, but with all things.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing you say, and we're going to talk about what you're planning here in a second. There are a couple of things I'm really struck by. One of them is how unconscious we are about the degree to which we're conscious about money. And let me say it differently.
Yeah.
Let me give you a real live example. I know a little bit about being homeless. I know a little bit about homelessness. I know what it feels like. I know what it looks like, knows what it smells like, know what it's like to stand and ask somebody for, 50 cents. I know a little bit about that. But I think what we have kind of stepped away from is that that's not everybody's journey. However, there is an energy that we carry around. How often do we look at someone on a street corner that is asking for money or holding up a sign or down the end of an exit? Or you brought up New York. I'm telling you, if you live in New York, they're cleaning your windshield right now. But how often have we done that and snarled or growled or turned our head the other way, thinking that we're all good in our consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
So consciousness, especially around money and things, has an exchange value. It's when we receive it and when we give it. And both of those are exchange values and vibrations. So I think, what I'm hearing you say is we got to be mindful of both. We have to be mindful of the giving of the thing and the energy and the transaction, but also the receiving. And, this is an interesting point, and I hope you will talk about this during the show. Sometimes we ask for money and we don't get it. Sometimes we don't ask for money and we do get it. And either way, anything short of gratitude for either of those transactions creates a vibration of its own. And I wanted to, have you talk about that, because we're talking about an exchange element here. Gold is gold and it sits in the ground, and there's nothing anybody's going to do about it if it sits in the ground. So is copper. Well, I think copper's in the ground. But any of those elements, they sit in the ground. Diamond sits in the ground. They're embedded in some rock, and that's where they stay. And the consciousness of that is that they don't exist because they're not part of our realm. But you're bringing an event to the forefront that's going to invite people to play a bit differently with the consciousness of money. Tell us a little bit about what the event is, and why is it important now to take those elements out of the ground, out of the closet, and have a broader conversation about them?
Oh, yes. And before I really talk about the details of the event, I just want to loop back around to one of the points you made. It's the collective consciousness. It's our collective consciousness of money, right? Owning that and that nobody really is separate, because we're not one, we're one, right? We are all one as a collective consciousness. And I think we need to start realizing that. And if you take that image of a balloon again, and raising our consciousness around abundance
mm-hmm.
in the balloon, there's two things that makes that balloon go lift up, right? One is by dropping off the sandbags, right? When you drop off those weights, the balloon naturally lifts. Well, the weights in my mind aren't people. The weights in my mind are these old paradigms, these limited beliefs, these angers, these restriction energies. They're heavy, they're low vibration, and they keep the balloon down. They keep the whole collective consciousness on the planet weighted down, right? But when we start to release those, when all of us start to release those, every one of us, when we start to release those and own up to those, it starts to raise the collective consciousness, right? The second way to lift the hot air balloon is to put more heat, or, whatever it does, whatever makes that balloon rise, right? I believe it's heat. I've been in a hot air balloon. They turn the fire on hotter and it rises. Yep. So one is the polling of the people at the higher consciousness around money. They have that role. And one is the dropping off of the weighted lower vibrations around money. And the reason that I pull in gold and silver into this is because we've had many lifetimes on this planet or other planets or our family lineage, and we pull in programming from all of that. And when money was gold, when money was silver, when money was diamonds, we all have things tied around those. We all have stories that we don't even realize, that give us like, oh, look at her, she's wearing diamonds, or look at that, he thinks he's so cool because he's got gold, I don't know where those things come from, but I don't think it's our inherent nature. Anyway, so I wanted to give that example. It's a collective consciousness of abundance that we're here to raise. So that leads into this event, right? Why the event is so amazing to me. I'm just I'm the messenger here. I got a download, or I had a vision. I was given instructions, and I was brave enough to say, yes, I'll do it. I don't know how this will unfold, but I'll do it. So it's a very multi-purpose event. One of the neat things is I'll be giving all the attendees or the people who are watching it on the download 8 things that the elements of prosperity want you to know now in order to raise your consciousness and relationship with money to a more collaborative relationship. As well as, so it's like, well, what is gold wanting you to know about gold? What is gold? What is money wanting you to know about your money blueprint? What is diamond? What does the rubies want you to know about the way that they interact with the love energy and how that helps them create, right? So it'll allow you to start to understand them a little bit better, as well as, taking you through, everybody who's there, through 4 transforming visualizations to help you embody some of these new ways of being. We're going to get a chance to give and to receive a healing from the consciousness of money. Everybody there will do it. Trust me, it'll be so expansive. It'll be so mind-blowing. But it's change, right? It's not intellectual. It's actual embodiment of this stuff. The second layer is, acting in the spirit of abundance. We'll be gifting all the funds raised to go to the event, right? The entrance fee is a donation in whatever amount you would like to donate. And all of those funds are going to go to lift up our homeless brothers and sisters in Seattle by partnering with Share Wheel, which is a frontline, boots-on-the-ground organization in Seattle with the tent cities and the emergency needs of the homeless. And the third layer of it is I'll be demonstrating how to live into your purpose before you have the so-called abundance that we're all waiting to show up on our doorstep, right? This came from a direct request from Source, right? Lynn, what are you going to do with, this is Source saying, what are you going to do to help people embody this? And I said, well, when I get my abundance, I'll teach people because I'm not independently wealthy yet in the money sense. And he's like, Source is like, no, I want you to do it now. This is how you're going to do it now. And you're going to demonstrate this model that other people can start modeling and living into I'm just receiving in your right hand and giving it in the left hand. And that's living in abundance. And it's not me waiting for my bank account to be overflowing, right? So it's demonstrating the ability to do that. And then the final, well, not final, but I think one of the fourth layer, which is so neat to me, is that we'll be modeling a new way of community collaboration, which allows people to step into what their unique gifts are and talents are while spreading abundance for all, right? So in this new consciousness, it's about collaborating. It's about one person having the ability to speak about these consciousnesses. It's about one person having the ability to get the Museum of Flight reserved for this event, which is a blessing. It's about one person having the ability to prepare the marketing and the advertising. It's such a great collaboration, and everybody's in it to help lift up everybody, no matter where you are on the abundance line, is the way that people judge it now. If you're wealthy or if you're poor, this information and this event literally is for everybody. Because if you're able to give, if you're able to receive the content, you're inherently helping uplift the homeless brothers and sisters, right? And then that's collectively raising our consciousness. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm happy to be able to be talking about it and be able to be the presenter that night. And I know that you're going to be emceeing the event. I mean, I'm just over top of myself with the amount of blessings that have poured into this event so far.
Yeah, well, I want to say a couple of things about this, but before we do, Lynn, where can people find out more about it? Can we send folks to, I know we can send folks to the Dr. Pat Show and Transformation Talk Radio, and I think Jessica's put up a banner, and we can do that. There's a flyer we've got out there, certainly, but they can also go to your website as well, right?
Yes, you can go to lynnbrownevent.com, and that's going to take you to my events page. You just go to the April 30th event. You can also go to moneysmouth.eventbrite.com. That's going to take you to all the details, and that's where you're actually going to purchase the tickets. And there's two ways to purchase a ticket, because I understand people all across the world are going to want to participate in this evening. And so if you're not in Seattle, there's a way that you can participate just as well. So when you go on the Eventbrite page, there's two options. You can donate and attend, and you can donate and get the downloaded version. And so we have a film crew there that's going to be there filming everything and behind the scenes stuff. I mean, this is really an introduction to, like you said, a whole new way of being.
Yeah. And, part of this is for those of us that have walked down this pathway to have a conversation with the world about this. Unless you have been in a place where money was a far cry from the reality in your life. And I'm not just talking about money, with regard to, what are we going to buy from the store today? No, I'm going to talk about, money from my historical perspective of what it was like, 2 days before my 11th birthday, that my mom gets arrested for shoplifting because we did not have enough to go around. I mean, what is it that we can heal with this? How about the shame of our past? How about some of the experiences? And by the way, what an opportunity, if we want to really get down to it, is to stop denying what's happened over the past 10 years and start to embrace a new level of consciousness, which is really built upon gratitude and unlimited potentiality. I mean, this is really the energy, for you, Lynn, to be the vehicle by which this gets brought to the forefront, I think is absolutely brilliant. Because money, I think, like so many things in our lives, money has pretty much gotten tired of us putting it in the closet, waiting for the day to take it out, shine it off when we're ready for it.
Yep.
There is a lot of healing right now that we're not talking about. A lot of things that people have experienced that are going to get summed up in a 30-second car commercial about how you can upgrade to your new car with leather seats and, satellite radio. And as if nothing of consciousness has existed before today around this. But history really talks to something different, doesn't it?
Yeah, history. Oh man, we've been through a lot, but our family has been through a lot. Our families, our lineage. Again, I'll bring in past life stuff, the struggles we've had around money, the struggles we've had around survival, the haves and have-nots. I think this event gives people, not just this event, right, but this concept, but this event gives you the ability to really dip into the pool and experience this energy with me. It allows you to heal those things by moving forward, not by staying in the oil and the muck and crying and suffering. We don't need to do that anymore. We can heal by moving forward. We can release some of that old stuff by moving forward, right? So, there's a leader in my life a couple years ago who said something to me, Lynn. She said, Lynn, when you have something so powerful in front of you to move towards, you don't care what's behind you. And it took me a couple days to really get it, but then I got it energetically. And what I'm doing is moving towards this thing that is so powerful that it inherently heals everything that it was behind us.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to get back to a conversation that talks about the energy of money and the vibration of money and the energy of consciousness and the vibration of consciousness, there really doesn't allow for any disconnect. I don't know if I was reading this in a book that came across my desk here recently or not, but the only times in my life where I have felt seriously lonely, and I can go through a whole wide series of ranges, are directly proportionate to how disconnected I am from source energy. You can literally pinpoint the days that I wake up and I'm irritable, discontent, and just plain ornery. And then ask me how often I spend time in Dr. Dan Cohen's chair to meditate a little bit. Or how about a little Tai Chi? Directly proportionate to that.
Yep.
And yet at the same time, we can walk down the street and we can eyeball somebody upside down and sideways and determine whether or not we're going to stay on that side of the street or we're going to cross over and go to another side of the street because we don't want to completely avoid confrontation with something that may project either something of our past or something of our future. But the point of all of that is just fear.
Yeah.
And fear has infiltrated the conversation of money and abundance. And I think what you're talking about is literally, to give fear a backseat to faith in some way.
Absolutely. And, I was sharing with one of my friends today when I was driving in this morning. I mean, this is just an example of the change in energy. When I was driving in this morning, I was like, I need to kind of get pumped up and get my energy up. So I was listening to some music. I'm an athlete by heart. So I was getting fired up. And you know how teams put their arms around each other in a circle before the big day and they kind of dance or they move from left to right? That image, like I was doing that with these prosperity elements. And they were dancing, and of course, like Copper again, it was like in the middle, the one doing the chants, and Gold was a little bit more reserved and full of wisdom, but everybody was doing it, and it was very collaborative, and it was a celebration of reconnecting to all that is. It was literally a celebration, and I think people need that. People need a reason to celebrate their abundance and their ability to just live into their expression, to do what they choose, not to what they have to do, right? And I've been saying this for a couple months now. There is a new wave of prosperity coming to the planet, and I don't want people to reject it. I want people to embrace it and use it to help lift up humanity, to help lift up our consciousness, and to live into whatever you want to do. So that's really the point of this.
Yeah, I remember studying with my friend and teacher many years ago before she passed on, and we had a conversation about the elements, about gold, silver, and copper. And I don't know exactly what the language was, but she had an interesting way to look at it. You know, reserved is exactly the way she described gold. Gold is that thing that is always going to be shiny. It doesn't matter what grade of it, it's always going to be shiny. Gold is the element that you can put on top of other elements that are not so shiny so that they too can shine. So, you know, in her words, she talked about gold as the untouchable. You know, it is that thing that we so, I mean, think about it, an entire James Bond movie so that we could paint somebody gold.
Yeah.
You know, lasting for decades. Silver, she said, is really interesting. Silver is, you know, the stepchild, so to speak. You know, not quite an outcast, but has its own very, very beautiful properties. And even though it may become tarnished, you know, we struggle to take that element and shine it up. We have many ways to shine silver. But the point is, you never want to walk around with tarnished silver. And so here you go. That's the element of silver. And she looked at me and she said, "You know what, Pat? You're like the turkey vulture. You're like copper." And I thought, okay, this is me now in my ego. I'm thinking about this, Lynn. And here we're talking about it. And I'm thinking, okay, I can't be gold. I'm not even silver, but now I'm copper. She said, "Yeah, you're copper." And I waited, and 2 weeks passed because I never asked her about it. And I said, okay, this copper thing's really been killing me. Oh, she said, "Yeah, here's the thing with copper. Copper is resilient. It's durable. It's one of the few elements you can't wait for it to tarnish so that you can value its tarnish." And I'll tell you, you know, what you're talking about here is looking at elements and appreciating them when they shine and when they don't. Because if we don't step back to look at elements as well as ourselves and to honor the tarnished parts of ourselves as much as we do the parts that shine, it's going to be close to impossible to heal.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
It really is. It's again appreciating those divine aspects and those divine elements within ourselves.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what a great show. I know that you have got lots planned. I want to ask you, and you know, again, we're going to be talking lots about the upcoming event for those of you out there. Lynn, is there a phone number people can call as well to talk about the upcoming event? Maybe get involved with it in some way?
Absolutely. Yes, it's 206-931-7356. Yeah, if you're wanting to get involved in any way, if you have a talent, if you have a passion to help collaborate in this new model of a collective uplifting of humanity and abundance and celebration of abundance, I welcome you. I think, you know, we're all in. So definitely reach out to me. And then, you know, should I just talk about one more time how they can find
Please
the
do.
event? So again, the physical event is on April 30th. I have a goal to have over 300 participants raise over $30,000 by April 30th. And, you know, once that's done, I'm going to release the film to the planet for free. Until then, you know, it's the participation of building up to this date is part of the excitement for everybody. Again, there's two ways that you can participate. One is by donating to attend or donating to get the filmed version afterwards. We'll send that out to you. And also, you know, it's going to be held at the Museum of Flight, so those attending the event will get to get complimentary access to the museum before the event. So that's brilliant.
Nice.
And like I said, you'll be, you know, Dr. Pat will be there emceeing for the night. She'll have her own special message. I'll be talking about my story and my journey with these elements, and you'll get to embody their consciousness. And then we're going to have, you know, Cher Wheel's going to come in and do a little bit of a talk about the impact that they have in the community. So I really hope that I just have so much to share around this, and it's so healing. I can't wait to do it.
Absolutely. And for those of you out there that want to help get the word out, if you know, whether it's distribute flyers or anything else that Lynn has got going on, please give her a call. Lynn, thank you so much for today, and thank you for the message, and thank you for being a leader in this world of consciousness transformation.
It's my pleasure.
Wow. We're going to take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back and talk about somebody that transformed. As a matter of fact, some of these things he did talk about. We're going to be talking about Carl Jung, everyone. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.